Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. We got some breaking news here. Tom Brady has decided to retire from the NFL. So coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the latest around Brady because it sounds like, according to Schefter, he was never going to come to the silver and black anyway. And then on top of that, at the very end of the show, who is going to be the next quarterback for the silver and black? We're going to go through my top 5 options, and then, who knows, might even talk about Derek Carr a little bit on the back end. So let's talk about Tom Brady. Retiring, hanging it up. The GOAT has decided that, you know what, I'm no longer going to be playing in this league. He released a video on social media this morning and got to the point really quick. Basically just said he's done. He's going to hang him up. You only get one good retirement, and he was pretty short and sweet this morning. There was definitely a lot of rumors around Brady joining the Raiders. When you look at the Vegas odds for the most part of the offseason, he was the favorite to join the silver and black because of his connections with Josh McDaniels. There were people like Schefter, Rappaport said that Brady's going to play another year. So I do think that the retirement came at a bit of a surprise. But guess what? Anything can happen in the National Football League. So how are y'all feeling? Give me your one-word reaction to when you saw the news drop this morning, whether you're seeing it here for the first time, whether you saw it on television, whether, I don't know, Wild 114 decided to text you to wake you up out of a dead sleep and say, hey, did you see Tom Brady retired? What was your one-word reaction to the Brady retirement? My one-word reaction was surprised. I was surprised, and the biggest reason is because I still thought that Brady wanted to play. Then when you got all those insiders saying that, yeah, he's more than likely going to play another year, and considering the fact that every person alive, or I'd say 80% of people, really did. They thought Brady was going to be the quarterback for the Raiders. Now you got to scramble. Now you got to figure out what the hell is going to be plan B, because Brady would have been the guy that you would have hoped could run the McDaniels offense, could potentially help out a young quarterback underneath. And now that he's gone, the free agency pool definitely gets a little bit less. So this is why you subscribe to the Raiders Report. Breaking news, we go live. You want Raiders news coverage 100% for free? I got you covered. Videos every single day, 24/7, 365, even if it's an absolute snowstorm. Look up Dallas right now. We had to skate our way here to the office, but we got that commitment to excellence, and if you do too, join the Raiders Report family and hit the subscribe button. So Tom Brady hangs him up, says, you know what, no longer interested in playing in the NFL, which obviously makes a lot of Raiders fans happy because of the Tuck rule. It also puts a lot of Raiders fans thinking the question of, I mean, what are the Raiders going to do now? So what we're going to be talking about here on today's show is Raiders plan B, because everything that's been reported was Tom Brady was plan A. Let's figure it out from there on out. So we're going to be getting into the top 5 quarterbacks most likely to be under center for the silver and black. And they're not ranked in any particular order, but I do think when you think about this question, there are 3 ways that you can go. And I'm going to ask you, how do you think the Raiders should try to find their next QB? Do you go in the draft? Do you go in free agency? Or do you make a trade? Type D for draft, F for free agency, T for trade. You're going to get all those options coming up here right now. But the Raiders Report is asking the nation, giving the nation a voice. I know y'all are loud. Say it with your chest. Go down in the comments. So here we go. The top 5 quarterbacks most likely to be under center for the silver and black. The first guy coming up here on the show, you might have heard of him before. It's Jarrett Stidham. The option is this. He is going to be a free agent this upcoming season, and the Raiders, they could decide to re-sign him. I will say straight up, I don't view Jarrett Stidham as a top 40 quarterback in the NFL, and the only way you should bring Stiddy back is if you plan on trying to tank and getting a guy like Drake May or Caleb Williams. And the reason is because he's 2 different QBs. You saw against the 49ers, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It was the best game that the Raiders had offensively all season against the number 1 defense in the NFL. But in just 1 week, you got some tape on him. Coaches started to figure out what the Raiders were trying to do. They made corrections, and Stidham had no answers going up against Kansas City. 219 yards, a touchdown, a fumble, an interception. Honestly, man, it was a pretty rough game for Stiddy. I wish him the best. It would not surprise me if the Raiders decided to bring him back as a backup quarterback, but having him as your top option, I do not think is smart unless you are trying to tank. Now, today's show, the Tom Brady breaking news and figuring out who's going to be the next Raiders quarterback, that is sponsored by our awesome guys over at AG1. Go to athleticgreens.com Chat Sports. So, I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted immune system support and wanted a supplement that tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. My grandma always said, the early bird gets the worm. AG1 inspires and motivates me to get as many worms as possible every day. AG1 really helps me with getting my day started. Getting out of bed, especially when you're sick, it can be difficult. I'm a person who likes and needs a routine. AG1 helps me stick to my healthy routine, wake up early, take my AG1, take Chuck for a walk, then hit the gym before work. Covering my nutritional basis for the daily literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. Simple. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. Pretty good if you ask me. It's really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. Link's going to be in the comments and in the description of today's video. It's going to help promote your gut health, supports immunity, and if you're as sick as what I was yesterday, I don't know if you could tell, my energy's up. Shout out to Athletic Greens for helping me get my butt into the studio today. Let's go to the next guy that the Raiders could bring in. It's Mac Jones. Another guy, I'll be real. I do not want Mac Jones, but the video that I'm trying to create here is illustrating what I believe Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler do. Now remember, if you get Jones, you got to trade for him. And when he was drafted, number 15 overall in the 2021 NFL draft, he made the Pro Bowl, and Jones right now is on New England. Could the Raiders make a deal with New England? I don't have the answers to that. I will admit, Mac Jones underneath Josh McDaniels, who, by the way, are very good friends, was a lot better in 2021. Made the Pro Bowl. Like I said, hell, apparently Josh McDaniels made Mac Jones a Pro Bowler and Derek Carr a Pro Bowler. I say that with the utmost sarcasm. But, I mean, look at the numbers here. Jones in 2021 with Josh McDaniels, 3,801 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 INTs. The 10-7 record is what I care about. Then on the other end, in 2022, Bailey Zappi was better than Mac Jones last year. Let's not get it twisted. Yes, they did not have a lot of offensive firepower around them. If you were to put Mac Jones on this offense, I do think that you would have better numbers. But again, I would just rather you draft a quarterback than go get a QB like Mac Jones. Speaking of the draft, that's where I'm going here next. CJ Stroud. And the more and more I sit down, and the more I think about what honestly would be best for the Raiders now that Tom Brady's not going to be coming here, I'm starting to think it's Stroud. Just go in the draft. You have a young rookie quarterback on a cheap deal, and then you can build around him. Defense, offensive line. Look at the teams in the Super Bowl and the playoffs. Jalen Hurts, young rookie deal. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow, young deal. You had Brock Purdy, a little bit of a deal. Why? Because football is a team sport. And you look at a lot of these other guys, the highest paid quarterbacks, they didn't make the playoffs. And when you look at Stroud, I was told by a source, Dave Ziegler loves this man. He is a really, really talented dude. He's got all the accuracy. He's got the arm talent. He's got the pocket awareness. Sometimes it scares me when he gets out of the pocket and a play breaks down. That's when he struggles. But the one game where I said if he can go out and he can ball out, that's where it changes the conversation. And Stroud was incredible against Georgia. That is the most defensive-ready college football team I have seen in a very long time. And he shredded them. They should have won. 23 of 34, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns. Does Stroud play in a very friendly offense? No doubt. Does he have incredible receivers all around him? No doubt. Does he have a great offensive line? Yes. But he still went up against Georgia, and he really, really balled out. Next name coming up here for your Raiders quarterback options, it's Aaron Rodgers, and you got to go in a trade. If you're going to make a trade, I'd rather you trade for Rodgers than Mac Jones. Does it cost less? No, Rodgers is going to cost you way more, but I'd rather you have Rodgers than Mac Jones. So here's the thing. With Rodgers' contract, it's very, very complicated. He is scheduled to make $60 million this year. If you trade for him, though, because of the way his contract works, and he's also said that he might be willing to negotiate to get it down a little bit. He does have 3 years left. Rodgers is a headache. He's coming off one of his worst years in the NFL. 3,695 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The reason why this is an intriguing option, though, is because if you go back about a month, Davante Adams said that he wants to have a little bit of input of who's going to be the next Raiders quarterback. I would like to imagine that him and Rodgers, they get along pretty well, and if Rodgers wanted to come back, it's an option. But the biggest issue with Rodgers is you never know what he's going to do. I do think if you can guarantee that he's going to play another 3 years, maybe that trade makes sense. And McDaniels and Ziegler, though, they're all about team, right? Team, let's build something. Rodgers has never shown me that he's a team guy. He is me, myself, and I. But the dude can play football, and if you're trying to win games and you need to win right now, that might be your ticket option. Let's go to the final thing, and this is the guy that, I'm going to be real with y'all, I think is the most likely to be quarterback for the Raiders. And it scares me because I don't know if I want Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think from a talent standpoint, I will say that Derek Carr is a more talented quarterback than Jimmy G. However, I would imagine that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler think that Jimmy Garoppolo can execute their offensive game plan a lot better than what Derek Carr can. The reason why it also scares me is because you just saw Derek Carr, who is a game manager right now in the time of his career. It's not a knock. It's what he is. You just went 6-11 with the game manager. You really going to try to bring in another game manager? I mean, I think the reason why Garoppolo was successful in New England in his very limited time was because he was in the right system. Right? And he played well in the McDaniels system. I get it. Then he goes to San Francisco. Got a great defense. Got a great head coach. Got all the pieces around him to be successful. If you need Garoppolo to really carry your offense, I just don't know if you're going to be in the right spot ultimately, and you're going to be very happy about it. So here are your Raiders quarterback options. I believe one of these 5 players is going to be the quarterback for the Raiders in 2023. I do know this. Anything can happen. It's going to be insane. There's no doubt about it. So go down to the comments right now and predict who will be the Raiders quarterback next season. Is it going to be Mac Jones? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Could it be Jimmy Garoppolo? What about a guy like C.J. Stroud? Could it be another rookie quarterback? I don't know, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. I mean, a lot of different options. Jarrett Stidham. Some of y'all I see right now saying, well, what about Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson is expected to be franchise tagged by the Baltimore Ravens. That was reported by Ian Rappaport on January 31st. So it sounds like he's going back. And now I see other people on the live show. Well, can we just bring back Derek Carr? The answer to that is, could you just bring him back? Sure. But DC wants to move on. The Raiders want to move on. The best thing for both sides is to move on. You just saw Derek. He couldn't execute McDaniels' offense. I don't see why you would try to bring him back. And I've said it before, I think the worst thing that the Raiders could do is bring back Derek Carr. Sometimes you just need to split up because DC making $34 million a year, he's not good enough to carry an NFL team. You're better off just finding a cheaper option. But the reason why that there are some people out there saying that, hey, maybe the Raiders could just bring back Derek, it's because he has just been nominated to his 4th Pro Bowl, which, congratulations to him. I'll also say that it's the biggest joke of a Pro Bowl I've ever seen. Trevor Lawrence, Tyler Huntley, who's got 2 touchdowns this year, and then Derek Carr. The reason why it's interesting is because we all know that the Raiders, they had to move on from DC by February 15th, or else that $40.4 million guaranteed would have been on his contract. Here's the thing, though. The Raiders, they benched Derek at the final 2 games because they didn't want him to get hurt because of his injury clause. Well, according to the CBA, Article 38, you can go check it out yourself, if Derek Carr is injured playing in the Pro Bowl, the Raiders would have to pay his 2023 salary. I think the fact that Derek is headed to the Pro Bowl, they already benched him, they don't want to pay him, I wouldn't be shocked if Raiders moved on from DC on the 5th. There are people out there that think, hey, just bring him back, let's keep him. I'm going to let you answer that before I give you my 2 cents. What's going to happen with Derek Carr? Do you trade him? Type T for trade. Do you cut him? Type C for cut. Or do you decide to keep him? The reason also why I will say you cannot keep DC is because the Raiders want to use that money that you save for Derek, and they want to use it in free agency. If you decide to keep him and then you don't trade him like some people want to do after the draft, then you can't use any of the draft picks that you get this season, and you can't use them in the NFL draft. You got to wait till 2024. I do think whatever Mark Davis tells, okay, whatever Mark Davis tells Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, hey, you got to win this year or else your job's done. Then this conversation changes. If it's, hey, no matter what, you're going to be back in 2024, then there could be a situation where the Raiders decide to keep Derek. And then you save all those draft picks that you get from D.C., and then you use them in the 2024 NFL draft, when then hopefully you got to trade up to try to get a QB. I'm still on the team of you should try to trade him. I have still said that I believe the team most likely to trade for him is New Orleans. The fact that they just traded Sean Payton, they got that extra number 1 pick. Use it number 29 overall to get Derek Carr. It's going to be an interesting offseason no matter what. So hopefully you're subscribed. Hopefully you tune into the Raiders Report because we got a lot of content the entire year.